So imagine you have a friend, not a we hang out in the weekends friend, but a true, loyal friend that has your back when you face hundreds of the other team's hooligans in a dark alley, you know, that type. Imagine you have that. Imagine this friendship, this true bromance, starting by signing a contract back in 1373, and you are still looking deep in each other's eyes and find the one thing that our whole world seems to be missing at the moment: true love. You see, this is the kind of eternal friendship that this lot here, the Portuguese, have developed with the Brits of all people. Now, this friendship does make sense, and we will have a chat about it, as we will have chats about other things. You see, we will watch the local derby here, Sporting against Benfica. We will go to some extremely historical football clubs. We will talk about spies and how they literally influenced everything from football to the way this society and this state actually got to be. We will talk about the favorite sport of the ones in power here, that was selling people to others with similar power in their local societies. We will talk about all of that. So join me in today's video if you're here for the derby, and stick around for discoveries, dictatorships, and the usual bloodshed that comes with them. Look at this flipping sardine cans, man. 1937 says on that one. It begs the question what kind of taste that particular sardine has. Look at this, Bank of Portugal. Is this the building, man, with all the Nazi gold? I mean, it is to my understanding that big chunks of that particular gold still exist, probably in here, in a safe. Portugal was the second biggest recipient of gold from the Nazis after Switzerland. Portugal was a massive seller of tungsten. Now, the Nazis needed the tungsten in order to produce better quality equipment, so they went into this business with Salazar. Initially they were paying by normal currency, but later on they were simply paying with gold. Now, Portugal was asked politely to hand back a big part of that gold, and they did end up in an agreement to give back a small part of it. Most of it is still here. What's funny though is that during the crisis years, there was this proposition to pay the debt of the Portuguese by gold, and the IMF said no, because it would plummet the global gold price. Now, don't quote me on any of this. This is how I remember stuff. Now let me show you this, because it's so fitting with the times. What on earth is that, man? Liquid gas? Anyone? Did this escape the Strait of Hormuz or what? So the 16th, 17th century slave trade was happening under that dome over there, in the most recognizable square of probably the entire Portugal. The worst thing is that the place is actually called the Square of Commerce, Praça de Comércio. This square here was the location of the palace back then. However, it got severely damaged and destroyed, essentially, because of an earthquake in the 1700s. This square is called Largo José Saramago, and it's dedicated to the famous Portuguese writer. As a matter of fact, his ashes are dispersed under that olive tree over there. And this here square was chosen to host an installation to commemorate the slave trade. 400 metal sugar canes. As you can see, the square is still empty, and that's because the local community actually protested against the idea of representing 400 years of slave trade with 400 metal sugar canes. This is the Church of São Domingo de Lisboa. It has been the place of aggregation of the black community of Lisbon, and in a way it still is. So the church not only survived the the earthquake, I mean the one earthquake that destroyed the palace, but it survived a fire. I mean, you can see the columns in the inside, they are almost blown by the temperature. 2024 was the year that this statue was built. So the Portuguese finally got it right. They actually made a statue of a true symbol of the black community, you know? And in order for me not to be misunderstood, I'm not talking, when I say the Portuguese, I'm talking about the state. Of course, I'm not talking about the average Joe. Right, so bear with me here. Do you see that? Look at this. 2020, that was the year that this little plate, packed with bird shit, was placed to commemorate a humongous burial pit for slaves. I mean, even the name of the street, man, it's called Rua do Poco dos Negros. How the hell do I translate this without YouTube banning me forever, man? I will write down the translation. In 2020, did Lisbon think of placing this commemorative plate on the ground? I don't know, man. What do you guys think? Should Lisbon do maybe a little bit more to keep the memory alive? Not necessarily in a self-attacking manner. There is no point in promoting self-guilt. I mean, for fuck's sake, you see how the Germans act, right? With what is happening currently on our planet. But you need to remember and you need to inform. I hope you lot also realize, as I realized during my trip here, that we are definitely not doing enough in that direction. Remembering all the people we sacrificed, you know? What on earth is that golden temple down there? Now let's navigate ourselves through all these tourist buses to get you to, let's see, where are we going? That way. I am excellent navigator material. Botanical garden, tropical botanical garden. So this is a very sad subject for me. You see, it was in 1940 that Salazar organized here in the tropical garden an exhibition, the exhibition of the Portuguese world. And he gathered here specimens of tribes from the Portuguese colonies. Even pronouncing the word specimen is horrible, isn't it? So he brought people from various tribes of the colonies of Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau. Salazar did this to commemorate, first of all, the founding of Portugal and its liberation from the Spanish, right? And he chose a manner to do this by exhibiting other humans. The point behind that is incredibly racist. I mean, we are superior than you. We show you to our public so that our public can understand our superiority. I mean, it's chilling, right? Look at this colonial tea house. This is one of the places that there seems to be an effort, you know, to remember and to remind. So in order for you to imagine the thing, this is the lake of the park. Imagine you are sitting here where I'm standing now, and you just view the human specimens in front of you on that island. So look, in our history as humanity, we have done stuff of incredible cruelty. I mean, exhibiting people is a racist thing, but it doesn't even come close to the levels of cruelty of actually slaughtering them in their home, you know. Humans are capable of doing that, but we do have written history, you know. We do have the recollection of these events. This is what I don't understand. How on earth we tend to repeat, you know? Look at them, man. I mean, they do this every time I leave, you know, the premises. I'm not entirely sure the reason why they do this. Is it to attract females? I mean, probably, right? Look at the pesky peacock showing us his ass. To be fair, knowing the history of the place and actually seeing how it is today is a complete contradiction. I mean, all these animals actually elevate your spirit, you know? So this is the embassy of Timor-Leste, right next to the garden. So this place is still in the vicinity of Lisbon, and it's called Boa Vista. And it is the home of one of Portugal's most historic clubs, called Casa Pia. We are here because of the quintessential spy in Portuguese football. Have you lot heard the name Candido de Oliveira? Now, Casa Pia was an orphanage, and our guy, Candido de Oliveira, grew up here since he was dropped at the age of 9. The Portuguese Super Cup is called Taça Candido de Oliveira, and he is also the man who founded Casa Pia. In 1940, he was the coach of the national team, but besides that, he was also a spy. What do you think would be the average weekend of a guy like that? Probably trying to pick the right starting 11, right? Well, wrong. The reason why our guy plays James Bond for the Brits is to avoid a possible invasion by the Nazis to Portugal, to the Iberian Peninsula. So his job essentially was to create a network that would make its best to avoid that from happening. You are probably imagining a left-wing network, right? Well, it wasn't only that. He had people who were hardcore left-wing, you know, for the proletariat, for the revolution. And on the other hand, it was also hardcore nationalists, people who would advocate, okay, let us invade freaking Spain, you know? Our guy also used to work in the post office, and his main activity in that particular post office was to check the German correspondence and try to interpret and decipher possible hidden messages, or who knows, maybe direct information about a future plan or something. Candido de Oliveira was not the favorite person of the regime. You can probably understand why. I mean, Salazar cannot play friends with Hitler and at the same time allow for one of his prominent people, sports people, collaborating with the Brits, you know? So Candido was arrested and he was brought to one of the most infamous prisons in Cabo Verde, a prison called Tarrafal. That particular prison was known for the torture. For example, they had this incredible system where they would put you in isolation in a structure that was directly under the sun, and they would call it the frying pan, and they would leave you there for weeks. Now, let's say that you manage to survive the frying pan, then and only then you get to go to your normal cell and start the normal torturing / questioning procedures. Probably the old ticket office, Estadio Pinamanique. Casa Pia are not allowed to play here for the Portuguese First Division. It doesn't meet the criteria. They play at a town 85 kilometers away from here.
Rio Maior.
Yeah, I read that. That's far. Far
yes,
away.
Because we are at the end of the season, we demolish and create a new stadium, a new big stadium here.
Here?
Yes.
I have to come back?
I don't know if you come, but I think it's good for you to meet and see the new stadium. Our club, it was created from Casa Pia,
Yeah.
Casa Pianos.
Yeah.
Who studies Casa Pia like me.
Yeah.
They sleep there, and they create this club.
Hey, thank you.
Yes?
Thank you.
Okay.
Obrigado.
Bye.
Unbelievable. Do the fans have their own bus? Bar, cantina, gansos. So the fans are apparently called gansos. This is the first team.
No. This
Okay.
is the under 19.
Okay.
Under 19. Here, you are here because they game you with the elite, right?
No, I do YouTube and I'm very interested in Candido de Oliveira.
Okay, no problem.
So my story is Casa Pia, Candido de Oliveira, Abola,
Okay.
you know, the whole shenanigans.
Okay, I understood. Because I thought you are from the other club. That we are have a friendly match now with the B team.
You mean spy?
Yeah. No, not spy. But I thought you are the parents.
We are spies now. What a place. So the guy confirmed that Casa Pia are indeed renovating the thing. Anyway, Candido does survive the Tarrafal, and then he returns to Portugal after the end of the Second World War. Together with another football aficionado, they establish a newspaper. Have you lot heard of Abola? I mean, these are the people that founded Abola. Candido de Oliveira, former spy for the Brits. So they establish Abola, which is an instant success for the Portuguese public, and life is good. Now, about his job at the post office, the reason he was fired from the post office was the fact that he was extremely vocal against the regime. I think his first proper football team was Benfica, and I also think that he left Benfica to become one of the founders of Casa Pia, the football section of Casa Pia. This is something that a lot of players that came from Casa Pia, the school, the orphanage, playing for the big teams did. They left the big teams to return to Casa Pia from the moment that Casa Pia established the football side of the institution. And back in the 1920s, Casa Pia was massive, man. I mean, not a big, but a very good team. Our guy went to the World Cup of 1958. And yes, that was the World Cup that Pelé made his introduction to the world and died. Can you believe that, man? Our guy died from pneumonia, from flipping pneumonia, while covering the World Cup of 1958. And that's all from the Candido de Oliveira story. Other coaches out there have sleepless nights worrying about the flipping 4-4-2. And our guy here was trying to evade Gestapo, man. I mean, incredible stuff. So here we are walking back to Belém, man. To be fair, I could have waited to grab a bus or something. But you know, walking is good. It's about an hour walk from here, through the woods. The final goal of this hike is to reach the stadium of Belenenses and hopefully manage to get in. So while we are at it, let me tell you the story of Eusebio, because this story is considered sort of a hijack. So here's the thing, Eusebio is from Mozambique, right? And he would play at a football club in Lourenço Marques. That was the name of Maputo back in the colonial day. And that club was a feeding club for Sporting. I think that all the big teams back in the day used to have such entities to find local talent and then feed them here to the Portuguese league. So Eusebio was about to come to Lisbon with his family to sign for Sporting. However, Sporting wanted to see if his sporting material. Now Benfica, on the other hand, got tipped off by one of their scouts and decided to offer the family of Eusebio a massive amount of money in order for him to sign for Benfica. I mean, a proper contract. But it doesn't end there. So the family of Eusebio accepted the proposal. Benfica, however, were afraid that somebody would tip off Sporting and they would try to kidnap him upon arrival. So they flew him to Portugal with a fake name. And not only that, but they would hide him together with his family in a fishing village in Algarve for the period that was needed to finish with the bureaucracy of the thing, you know. That's quite a funny story if you ask me. Eusebio did give an interview at some point and he said that, look, of the two clubs, Benfica actually respected my family. Obviously, he was talking about the compensation, and he also said that his feeder club, the Sporting Lourenço Marques, was a straightforward racist club. That were the words of Eusebio. I am so happy to have done this Candido de Oliveira part of the video. Lisbon here, because of the neutrality of the times, before and during the Second World War, it was a massive hub of spies. And it's incredible to think that such an important persona for their football was one of them. Another kind of spy from way earlier were the Dutch. The Dutch that were sending their own spies to Lisbon to figure out how these brats managed to go to India and didn't tell anyone. So there should be some sort of viewing point to the stadium from here, right? Look at this one, whoa, the thing is spectacular. This is everything I was looking for at Braga. What a spectacle, you can actually see the bridge down there. And Jesus. I'm exhausted, man, after all that walk. Anyway, Belenenses is probably a good reason to return to Lisbon, if you ask me. I mean, yet another team with a lot of suffering in their lives. Look at this, it says that Belenenses is my life. So Belenenses, I think it was in 2018 that they collapsed, and their story is kind of similar to what happened to Boavista in Porto. The fans had to form a second team. Now the good thing with Belenenses is that all this is now finished. In 2026, this is kind of restored. The team that plays now in the third division is the original club. But back in 2018, they split. The original club fell to the depths of hell, while another club, a club called BSAD, was formed. A similar one exists also for Boavista. Now, long story short, the BSAD doesn't exist anymore, while these people are back in business. Maybe they play in the third division, but they have all the chances in the world to restore their status. Incredible ground. I mean, the sheer fact that you can see the bridge, Jesus, the Tejo, Tagus. Wonderful, just wonderful. Club Futebol Os Belenenses.
Belenenses.
Belenenses. It literally means football club, the ones from Belém. This area here. Look at this man, Amalia Rodriguez. This is a pretty well-known fado singer and big supporter of this here club. We already love them. Furia Azul. Bob Marley. Belém Punk. A lot of stickers and a banner apparently for someone who is no longer with us. But he actually is, because we remember him. So look, I remember casually walking into this place and having a couple of old fellows looking at me in a very inquisitory manner. And look at it now, man. On the other hand, this one doesn't seem to have any sort of queue, so let's give it a try, shall we? This is the gift shop, so let's buy gifts. I'm trying to remember how important the internet was in 2007. Probably it wasn't. I mean, all this shit is the effect of the online fame, you know? Anyway, this is the shop, the gift shop, which also has a couple of tables. So if you're lucky, you're lucky. All right, man, so here it is. The monastery of Geronimo. It was built to bury Vasco da Gama. This is not Vasco, but I will tell you about him. He is equally as important. Check it out, man. So this is our guy. Let me share with you a little bit about these tiles, because you see them literally everywhere in Portugal and Spain, to be fair. All of them are Moorish. And you realize it because of the repetitiveness of the design and the complete absence of anything alive, because our friends, the Muslims, don't believe in a representation of life in their art. So these here are for confessions, apparently. If any of you need to confess anything, you come here. I don't. I'm extremely innocent. So Luis de Camões, the other guy who is buried right across from Vasco, is the national poet of Portugal. He is an absolute monster of literature. He wrote the Lusíads in a span of almost 20 years, while in a sort of military exile from Portugal to places like Goa, Macau, Mozambique. Now, the reason why he was exiled was a street fight. The guy loved to break the occasional nose of annoying people, you know? So here he is suffering for it, and at the same time writing the epic. And it is an epic. For the Portuguese, the Lusíads is probably the epic, their version of the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Inferno, you name it. So that monument, the first time I saw it and I saw that sword, man, it kind of tells you everything you need to know, right? I understand why Salazar made the sword instead, for example, of a cross, of a Christian cross. The Christian symbol of suffering, of love, because people like Salazar believe in violence. This is what they advocate, this is what they push in the narration, Yeah. But on that monument is a persona that I want to talk to you about. I mean, Vasco, he is the reason why Portugal became a superpower. But before Vasco, there is this other incredible character. Let's go closer. So check it out. Our guy is the one with the feather pen trying to write that message. The guy's name is Pero da Covilla, a spy sent by King João II to discover the flipping route towards India. Now, our guy Vasco da Gama went with boats. This one went on land, all the way to Egypt, to Cairo. As a matter of fact, that scroll you see him holding on the monument is supposed to be representing a message he sent to King João II from Cairo, explaining to him, like, look mate, this is the way. If you do that, you reach India, all of us become filthy rich. Anyway, so the guy reached Egypt, crossed to the other side, to Aden, and from there he took a boat which eventually got him to Calicut, to Goa, to India essentially. Without his efforts, there is no Vasco da Gama. There is no Portugal discovering stuff. On top of that, I think it was upon his return, he ended up in Ethiopia. And in Ethiopia, he discovers a Christian population, probably Coptic, and he is invited by the local king to stay there. And he does that, and then he loses the right to ever live again. What Vasco da Gama did, establishing the route to India, skyrocketed Portugal as a nation, as a country, as everything. Portugal became a superpower. Now, for us, it's kind of difficult to imagine it. I mean, try to imagine the United States, not the United States of now, the United States of immediately after the Second World War. That was Portugal after the discovery of Vasco da Gama. Do you see that guy over there? That is the Prat, Prince Henry the Navigator. And the image of Prince Henry as a brilliant, forward-thinking scientist who personally mapped the oceans is essentially a carefully constructed myth. You see, in order to find out the truth about Henry, you have to peel back all the layers of propaganda. The reality is that Prince Henry here had his personal PR team, a writer called Gomes Eanes de Zurara. He wrote Henry's biography while Henry was still alive, and he framed every single successful voyage, every technological leap, every territorial claim as a direct result of Henry's personal genius. Now, if we are fair, none of this is true. He mainly appropriated his brother's ideas. The caravel, even the caravel, the famous Portuguese ship, was a gradual evolution created by shipwrights who adapted the Arabic fishing boat designs, the Carib. Most importantly, Henry transformed the slave trade from a localized medieval kind of practice, the slave trade as a byproduct of war, and he transformed it into a highly lucrative, state-sponsored global industry for the time. And that is your Prince Henry, the navigator. So yeah, Henry is the first. The bearded guy with long hair is Vasco. And then there is a fourth figure, and the fifth is Cabral. Cabral is the one who discovered Brazil. And the sixth, the one holding that thingy, is Magellan. This monument, of course, was built during the Salazar regime. So typical of someone with the delusion of former grandeur, Anyway, it is what it is. Well, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to Lisbon. However, before we go, I wanted to talk about this famous alliance, Anglo-Portuguese alliance. It kind of starts unofficially with the siege of Lisbon, with the Portuguese trying to conquer Lisbon from the Moors. And the ones who helped them were the Crusaders participating in the Second Crusade, I think. So the Crusaders stop and help the Portuguese kick out the Moors from their part of the Iberian Peninsula, which gave Portugal a head start to the Spanish of about 100 plus years. Remember, the only way for the Spanish to even manage to balance the whole thing in terms of wealth and success was only after Cortés decided to move inland in today's Mexico. Only then, and only after the eradication of the Aztecs and the stealing of the gold, could Spain say, okay, now we are also a superpower. Fast forward 200 plus years later, and we have the Treaty of Windsor, which officially establishes this incredible pact. A lot of things have happened, a lot of marriages, a lot of kids were born, royal kids, mind you. Henry the Navigator being one of them. The discovery/colonial trips begin, and the history is written. Now, if we move even further to the Napoleonic Wars, and this is the epitome of this friendship, man. I mean, this is the time that truly the Brits and the Portuguese work together to fight the pesky French. Look at us, endlessly waiting, man, for a flipping check-in. Don't worry, we're not checking in there. So, minimum consumption, 250 euros. Is this some sort of a new standard, or am I old? So those of you who are watching the videos, are you pushing that flipping hype thing? I'm so bored. I have to wait for about half an hour till the check-in lady arrives. These people take visitors for granted, man. We are in. So we are not actually sure this is the correct apartment, man. I mean, come in now.
Confirming which one is the apartment.
Yeah. So the funniest thing of them all is this. I mean, look at this. Tape. The flipping bathroom is taped, man. And I tell you what, this tape doesn't really help. I mean, it's flooding here every time I take a shower. Because that happens too, believe me, I do take showers from time to time. That fellow is there since yesterday. I haven't seen any in the apartment though, which is probably a good thing. Lisbon is one of my favorite places for the simple reason, man, that the first and only time I've been here before, I was in love. So you realize the energy and the atmosphere. Look at this, man. Martin Parr. I think it's worthy to have a little chat about Martin here. Martin unfortunately left our world. He was one of the funniest English photographers like out there. Nobody has portrayed the humor of English photography, British photography, like Martin. Now, why is that important to me? When I was spending my days doing photography as a hobby, various people had commented on yours truly that he's the next Martin Parr. Can you believe that? It was a happy decade of my life performing that sport. Tomorrow is the derby. Sporting are playing Benfica, and we are making our way to Da Luz to check out on the Benfica stadium, while tomorrow we will attend the derby at the Sporting stadium. Sporting, Club de Portugal. Sporting is the club of Portugal, Benfica is the club of the city, and if we are honest, also of Portugal. Torcida, that is Hajduk, right? Torcida are friends with Benfica. A very old friendship, mind you. So these people here also have a Jesus. And they also have bridges. To be more precise, Salazar built bridges in order to kind of push the image of his Estado Novo, as he would call his dictatorship, which bridge is now called the bridge of the 25th of April, which is the date that the Portuguese finally revolted and got rid of the new state. The revolution of 1974 started also with a military coup. After mere 48 years. We should tell this to the Spanish. What's happening here? A red carpet leading into the Tejo. And on top of everything, Lisbon is the city of one of my favorite personas. Let's stick to that. Of all times, man. Fernando Pessoa was born here and ended up working and creating here. He had, I don't remember how many heteronymus. I only have one, Anthony Mortal, right? Kind of frigid. Hey man, so I stopped at a cafe, right? To grab something to eat for breakfast and a coffee. Now, have you ever seen this, man? Look at that. As for the tortilla, I have no words. I really have no words. This is horrible. The coffee though, excellent. Let's pay €9.95. 10 euros for an omelette that was abysmal, and a coffee that was really great. And I won't even talk about that pastel. That was the shame of all pastéis. 10 euros for an espresso, man. You cannot see through this camera, but it's endless. I mean, there are 3 or 4 or even more escalators. This station is absolutely empty. We are here and we are going there. Looks like Google Chrome, doesn't it? About 12 or 13 years ago, I was in London and I also visited the Emirates. Now, the amazing thing is that this here, at least from the inside, looks exactly like the Emirates. I could never understand why they did this. I mean, surely you don't want your stadium to be identical to another great European teams, right? And there's more, because in this stadium, back in 2004, on my birthday, mind you, Greece faced Portugal here. And we completely destroyed them. We didn't destroy them. They were destroying us, but we kind of tricked them into believing that they could achieve glory. And we stole it from them. And then Cristiano Ronaldo started his crying career from that moment on. If you are a kid and you are playing so close to the big stadium, I think it's a massive source of inspiration, isn't it? So let's see, where's Eusebio? We need to make a selfie with Eusebio, right? Welcome to the hell of Da Luz. So let's see, how do we visit this hell? Look at this, Benfica also has a Champions Wall. Check it out, João Felix, Jonas Cardozo, Di Maria. Look at this, man, they are doing trippy things, like we have done in Liverpool.
Here inside you have the old stadium of Sport Lisbon and Benfica.
This girl is saying that Arsenal copied Benfica. Can you believe that? That Arsenal copied Benfica. Where are you from?
I'm from Brazil.
Which place?
Minas Gerais state.
Minas Gerais. Ah, Atlético Mineiro.
Yeah.
Oh, very good, man. Ah, look at my guy. So to be fair, the thing is very impressive. So to my shame, I didn't know that Arsenal finished the Emirates after this one. Very interesting. This spot would be for the no-name boys, right? The first ultra group. Red Devils, that one. And the visitors are up there. Diabos, we have to ask her again what. So Diabos, can you tell us?
Yeah, Diabos Vermelhos.
That one. The guy who was a leader died recently, right?
Yeah, from the Red Devils.
I saw it on the
news.
Yeah. So that one is the hotel where the young players, the young talent is staying, kids essentially, that they could have their families, not even living in Portugal. The seniors team is staying at the same hotel, probably to give some boost to the kids. Check out this foreman. First of all, that one is a little bit tilted. As for this one, Mauricio, he was the guy that brought Eusebio to Benfica. So this is where Greece, this was for Greece, right?
This is a new one.
Oh, it's
here
a
in
new
the stadium, yeah. And I think that the first team who used this one was Real Madrid for Champions League.
Okay. Antonio Mortale. Look at this metal bucket, man. So look, there is a net invisible up there. This is for the visitors, right? Double row. What's going on? My ass is too big. I don't fit here.
I don't think volume for small people.
So this is comfy. If you manage to fit your ass here, it's comfy.
Small, huh?
But I think it's on purpose, like that, so that they force you to get in there, to want to get in there. It was highly entertaining, this tour. Although guided, I enjoyed it. And this girl helped me a lot with various information that were essential for tomorrow, for the derby. Now check this out. Let's see. Can you see anything? I cannot see anything. Flipping hell. It's incredible, the smell of this shop. So it appears that the major hub of celebrations for Benfica used to be this place here. And the reason for this is that before the initial Da Luz stadium was built, not the one that we went, the previous version of it, the Portuguese state had robbed Benfica of their stadia, in various occasions, you know, to build infrastructure, to build roads, stuff like that. And Benfica was never compensated. Now all this is coming from a Benfica supporter that yours truly met and had a chat with. And it's a totally different thing than what we view and encounter in cities like Porto, for example. In Porto, they literally consider Benfica to be the favorite team of the regime. So this area here is now probably pretty well known, but for me back in 2007, it wasn't so well known. I learned about Alfama from Wim Wenders, from Lisbon Story. I don't know if any of you have seen the film. If not, do watch it. Absolutely wonderful. It's stuff like that, you know, it's small memories like these that still move us. This is a disaster, man. Look at this. I mean, crowds, flea market. I cannot believe this. I am officially old. Nothing like that existed back in 2007. I mean, the view is still nice, but Norwegian dawn, God save us. Have we killed Alfama, man? What's happening? Nothing is happening. Probably it will make its cycle, I guess, and be restored at some point, you know? That feeling. Go watch the film by Wim Wenders. It will bring you back to what I'm talking about. We found a nice alley. So I remembered I had been back then to a bar. That particular bar had something that I hadn't seen before. So it was somewhere here. Oh, look at this. So it's still here. We cannot film. On the other hand, it's closed. So probably we can film Tejo Bar. Is it still functioning, man? I have no idea. It doesn't look in a very healthy state. So here's the story about this bar. You get your beer, there are guitars, whatever, I think there was also a microphone. You could sing and play the guitar, do whatever. The thing is that there was no barman, there was nothing. I mean, you could take the beer and then when you would leave, you would, drop some money. Not some money, the equivalent of the beer, in a box. I tell you what, I hadn't seen this type of system before and was profoundly impressed. Okay, let's go down. And to be perfectly honest, Alfama still has some spaces, evoking that village feeling. In front of me is the house, or the former house, of Fernando Pessoa. It's that white one over there. You know how it is, right? I mean, there are certain personas in this here world that make such an impression on our souls that it's very difficult to go beyond. Take me, for example, right? I struggle supporting this persona, this anti-immortal persona, right? Fernando Pessoa not only created around 70 of them, all of them different to each other, but he could actually support the thing. I mean, he could write entire works of art, poetry and literature in the specific style of each and every one heteronym. It's absolutely incredible. He did have 3 or 4 major ones. Alberto Caeiro, Ricardo Reis, and Álvaro de Campos, these are not real people. I mean, they appear in Pessoa's works as real people, but they are not. They are the creation of his absolutely sensational imagination. And it's phenomenal, man. I mean, you have a character that is a farmer, a simple guy, that was Caeiro. You have Ricardo Reis, that is a doctor, lives in Brazil, he comes back, he's, Ricardo Reis, the complete conservative. He actually fled Portugal when the Democrats established their government. If you are looking for Friedrich Nietzsche in Pessoa, this is the one. Look at the guy's library, man. John Milton, the Dracula. Our guy Homer. It's amazing how one very conservative-looking Pessoa constantly mingled with madmen. As a matter of fact, the genius of Pessoa was such that he even provoked other writers to not only to take notice, but to make works with him as a protagonist. I mean, probably all of you know José Saramago. He wrote a book about Ricardo Reis, the heteronym of Pessoa, coming back from Brazil. That was in the beginning of the rise of fascism in Portugal and Spain, and he meets the ghost of Pessoa. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. You have probably realized in the last videos that there are certain people that have to do with literature that absolutely fascinate me. In Barcelona it was Orwell. When we went in Tangier it was Bill Burroughs. But here, Pessoa and Saramago, of course.
Coffee, milk?
Coffee without caffeine.
Descafeinado?
Decafeinado, yeah, that one. Here we are, man. Decaf. Big up to all of you who actually treated me with this decaf. I hope you enjoyed that small compilation that I made for you. People ready for the derby? So our guy is born in 1888, like Celtic. At 4 years old, his father dies from tuberculosis. 2 years later, his brother dies. Younger brother, mind you. And then, with his mother and her second husband, they move to South Africa. This is an interesting period because he stayed in South Africa for almost 10 years, I think. And there is not a single mention of South Africa anywhere in his works. And the South Africa we are talking about is the period of the Boers' War. there are things happening there, you know. Gandhi is there. I mean, our guy, it's amazing sometimes how we distinguish what's important and what's not, you know. And the second thing that I had absolutely no idea about, Pessoa actually met Aleister Crowley. Pessoa was into esotericism. He was a master of astrology, everything that had to do with that. And at some point, he sent a correction letter to Aleister Crowley, mentioning that, look, there is this zodiac map that you have on your book, which is wrong. So please correct that. And Crowley insisted, okay, this is our guy, we need to meet. Only Pessoa was nothing like Crowley. I mean, remember, Crowley is the type of mischievous person, dark magic kind of persona. Anyway, let's not get into that, because YouTube will probably hang us upside down. So they met here in Portugal, in Estoril. I think it took about a minute and a half for both of them to realize that, okay, this is not going to work. Crowley had been in this meeting with Pessoa with a young woman, 19-year-old German-American woman. She took advantage of the fact that they were departing Portugal to escape. She went back to Berlin, where she originally came from, and about half a year later she committed suicide. That's to point that the darkness was real. Pessoa actually staged his death in order to stop any communication with Crowley. So this is the cemetery where initially Pessoa was buried after his death in 1935. However, somebody in the Portuguese government decided that he was way too important to be having here in this cemetery with the common folk, and they moved his bones, guess where? To the Geronimo man. So he's buried in the same place as Vasco da Gama. Pessoa does not belong here, man. I mean, it's the only place that Pessoa does not belong to. It's very weird, actually, the decision to move his body from the common folk cemetery to here. Look at this. Fernando Pessoa, 1888, 1935. Ricardo Reis. Now, if Pessoa would have been buried in an asylum just to prove a point, just to make justice, you know, of his incredible affinity of all the madmen of our world, it would have made much more sense. Bloody hell, man, can you see that? Nature is treating us. Look at this, we are back. People are in a hurry. The sheer thought that they are going to walk for an hour in this heat. Now, sporting, the common friendship, the one that everybody cherishes and celebrates, is Fiorentina. But the different groups have also some different friendships, apparently. For example, the ULEO, Juventud Leonina, besides Fiorentina, they also have a friendship with Go Ahead Eagles from Deventer and Palmeiras from Sao Paulo. Torcida Verde, another historical group, they have the extra friendship with Hammarby. The third group, Diretivo, have the same friendships as Juveleo. As a matter of fact, they were part of Juveleo until some point. The last group, Brigada, have a friendship with Hanover from Germany. Interesting stuff, man. I mean, you know how they say the geography of the curva, right? With all the nuances. This park is flipping amazing, man. Cheers then. So we are there, B31. Like, we are literally very high, man. I mean, it could be worse. I mean, we are not here. And we have a flag. So far, this is an abysmal experience. The game is quite entertaining. I mean, with 2 penalties, 1 lost, 1 scored, doesn't matter. But the atmosphere is horrible. So not only the atmosphere is bad, I mean, that was close. So they have 2 curvas, right? And there is a very small group in each curva that's singing, right? And not only that, but before the end of the first half, they started fighting each other, man. Or at least, I'm pretty sure they were fighting each other. I mean, it's not, the joyful kind. Anyway, weird stuff. No drums, no big flags, no banners. What's going on, man? There is only one group in the corner, the Brigada group. They are the only ones who have a banner, man, and some flags. There's been an accident. Somebody hit and run this fan. Unbelievable. He is responsive. That's a good thing. And the police are onto it. Flipping hell, man. I actually saw that. It was horrible. So look, the first half was abysmal. I cannot even believe that Sporting issues tickets for that for that high place. They are probably doing it to punish, I don't know. If you're a bad kid, they send you up there to watch the game and curse your life. What I massively appreciated in the second half was the fact that Sporting is pretty relaxed about who is sitting where, or generally speaking, what you do in the premises. I think I changed something like 5 or 6 places on that stand, and then ended up sitting on the stairs. Now, Sporting did equalize, and there was a general feeling of enthusiasm back in our hearts. And then they scored, man. I mean, Sporting scored 1 or 2 minutes before the end. I mean, in the stoppage time. However, that was offside. And exactly 30 seconds later, man, Benfica scored. I mean, how cruel is that? Now, regarding the fans, I have a couple of observations, man. What's happening here? If you look at the entire stand, these two groups are small, man. I mean, I don't understand why they don't make, I don't know, a deal or something and sit together in the same stand. It will definitely elevate the support, because as it is today, the support is pretty scarce. I mean, you don't... Okay, today was a derby, right? So there was a general buzz, but with 3 isolated groups in a big stadium like this one, I don't think it's... I mean, they probably need to do something about it. Today's result essentially gave the title to Porto, I guess. So look at us, man. Look at what we are eating here. There is this kind of soup. Oh, this is great. And the codfish that all the Portuguese love. This is the one thing that surprised me also 20 years ago. The love of these people for codfish.